It's a whole new game with amazing new ways to play.
Well, if you don't mind, since we got Pokemon Coliseum running behind us, we can't have the CRT blank. We'll just go ahead and make a concession here, and we'll place the 3DS there. Boom. See? It's like nothing's missing, right? Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are going back to Pokemon Black. Hey, hold on. That rhymed. We're off to a good start here. So you may or may not know this about me, but anytime I talk about old Pokemon games and I go, hey, I played this one for the first time in like 2023, they go, what? No way. How? Why did you wait so long? I was burnt out. After Gen 3, I thought that was probably the best I'd get out of Pokemon as a kid, Emerald being my personal favorite of the entire series. And when I went into Diamond and Pearl, it just didn't connect. And it was there I started to do a bit of soul searching. And I found the love of my life. I found Mega Man Battle Network, and the rest is history. So that became my primary Pokemon monster collecting, or really chip collecting series. And I left Pokemon in the dust for a long while. It wasn't until X and Y that I came back in. So Black and White 2 have been big omissions for me in my gamer credibility, and I wanted to start to right some wrong. So I've been quietly chipping away at Pokemon Black for the last 2 months, just here or there, playing it for the first time. A lot of you really enjoyed our Pokemon Heartgold replay, so I wanted to get another one under my belt because playing that game made me appreciate, you know what? Screw the preconceived notions of Pokemon. There is something special about these older entries, and you got to give them an honest chance. Because I was one of those people who, over time, as I got older, the combat, the story, but I got to say, Pokemon Black has flipped my whole perspective of Pokemon on its head, and I hope to illustrate those points properly here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into nostalgic or retrospective content, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. I just realized we're also on point with the outfit. We got the Gengar t-shirt on. We are good to go. So, Pokemon Black and White. You start things off, you got a good selection here of Tepig, Oshawott, and Snivy. I was an Oshawott dude. I just felt like, you know what, when I was a kid and I had to make my first ever selection, it was just a blind grab there of Charmander, Squirtle, and of course Bulbasaur. I went with Squirtle. So I thought, you know what are Pokemon's kind of my calling? I'm gonna go with Oshawott. No regrets there. Love Oshawott. This dude's adorable. But more importantly, if there's one thing that I was just thinking about the whole time I'm playing through this game, the one thing I had to talk about here, it's the story. So one thing I complimented in Pokemon Heartgold is, while the story is kind of what you know and love about Pokemon, like, all right, go beat the gyms, take on the elite, and then you get this sick endgame, which makes the game mind-blowing, especially back when it first came out, like incredible. When you look at Pokemon as a storytelling medium, I don't think it asks very thought-provoking questions. Like Heartgold, my favorite part of that was the lore, like the death of these legendary Pokemons and the resurrection of them and why they're back in these lands. I found that to be so intriguing, so almost dark-hearted, but quietly so, because Pokemon's generally uplifting. So what I loved about Pokemon Black is it's in your face, asking all of those philosophical Pokemon questions that I and many others had been asking for years, and I'm sure someone will point out in the comments below. I'm not going to act like a Pokemon main story connoisseur, but like this to me just spoke on a whole other level, because the main question they ask is like, why do trainers get to run around with Pokemon and make them fight? Like, why do they get to control their destiny? Like, why do we subject them to all of this treatment? Why should they be trapped up in a little Pokeball and whenever they come out is our say? I just thought that Team Plasma and the questions they asked, I haven't had a, if you will, team resonate with me like this since I'd say Team Skull. I remember Team Skull was like, they had us in the first half moment. Like when I first started playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, Team Skull, I was like, oh, they're whack, man. Like the first 10 hours, I'm like, they're whack. Well, then you learn more about Guzma, you learn more about their motivations, the trauma they went through. I'm like, this is insane. I love Sun and Moon, right? Like that was the first time in a long while I felt the true love for a Pokemon game, and I really honestly haven't felt that probably since up until Legends Arceus. But when it came to Pokemon Black, like this is out the gate. Like you see Team Plasma giving this speech, and I got a good feeling about the game because the opening movie sent a message to me. Like you start things up on the cartridge, and like right away you're seeing this opening movie involving like an order of some kind, and throughout the story in Team Plasma, they're led by these 7 sages, and they have this king, very much like the Knights of the Round Table. I'm like, this is a really interesting squad, but there's almost like existentialism and purpose just dripping throughout this entire game. Not just Team Plasma and the questions they ask you and the resolutions those lead to, but also like N, who seems to have this almost psychic connection with Pokemon, or Charon, one of your friends. I apologize if I'm getting the name wrong, but I remember when I was in like Castelia City, this dude leaves the gym and he's talking to me. He's like, I beat this gym, and now hopefully this will give my life purpose, give my life meaning. I'm like, this dude started off as like your good friend, and you just see during the story, mentally he's slowly losing it a little bit, just given all these signs. And so I just found the main story in this world so captivating, and it helps that the music here is just like, when you go to one of those rest zones, just listen to this. It's like you're just on this big journey, and the game audibly tells you, hey, you're working hard. Take a breath, relax. And that's what converts the story from almost entertainment to an experience, which I know is crazy to say, but this whole entire game really knocked my socks off. So I just had to sit here and love on that main story, love on the characters, love on the themes that it tackles. I feel like it's a mature Pokemon game. And I know that's when Pokemon's at its best, right? I've talked a lot about how sometimes the manga tackles Pokemon death. I think of Lavender Town, and I think of the story with Cubone. I think of all of these moments where Pokemon has brief snapshots of darkness, but Pokemon Black, Pokemon White is like a whole story just dripping in existentialism almost, and questions of purpose and mystery. So while yes, you're going to continue to go through the 8 gyms that you know and love, I really think like I was almost like okay, of course I'm going to do this, but like, what's happening in between? And that's what I was here for. And I love how the main story interweaves all of these characters from the gym, for example, like the Bug Gym in Castelia City. Like, they were helping you fight against Team Plasma at one point. Like, it felt the world was more connected to the issues here. Whereas like even Heartgold, when I played it, like Team Rocket took over this entire radio tower and everyone's just like chilling, doing their thing. But here it felt like side characters around the world are like really invested in, hey, something's happened in my hometown. Like I gotta go help that out. So yeah, it was just, to me, so compelling all the way through. Speaking of Heartgold and Soul Silver though, I do want to throw out there that Black and White has this kind of Heartgold Soul Silver moment. I don't want to get too into spoilers visually or audibly. The reason for that is because I want to play Black and White 2 and then do more of my collective pound for pound spoiler discussion like I usually do in these first time playthrough videos. So for those of you who want something spoiler free, congrats, you have your reprieve for a single video. But there is this moment at the end of the game where you're like, all right, I'm done. Like, of course, in any Pokemon game, I've beat the Elite Four. Okay, what's next? And the what's next, I think, is that exciting answer that Heartgold and Soul Silver provided, where like, ooh, new Pokemon, and ooh, new area, by the way, that's unique to the version you have. Like, that type of stuff just lights my fire. So I just found the connection there to also be exciting, where you feel the new in the terms of technology, but you feel the old in its spirit and design and sprite art. Like, it really is the perfect hybrid of what modern Pokemon really is, or what it would become when it first started off on Game Boy Color. So I just gotta say, I really have a lot of love for not only how the base game goes, but I guess how the end game turns out. Because I think a lot of Pokemon is really defined by that end game. It's defined by what you do after you're done being pushed on by the main story, because some people aren't compelled to just catch, fill out your Pokédex. Some people need that narrative punch to go forward, and like, I think the 10 Carat Hill is another example of that in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So yeah, there's just some great endgame moments in this series, and this felt like one of them for sure. So I've said enough on that. We have a full complete in-box experience here for Pokemon Black that we're gonna go through. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll talk a bit about the gameplay. All right, here we go. Complete in-box copy of Pokemon Black. Here on the back, it says, A new world filled with never-before-seen Pokemon. What are the true motives of Team Plasma and the mysterious N? What is the secret of the legendary Pokemon? Adventure across the Unova region and discover all new Pokemon. The game changes with seasons, which I always thought was really cool. When you fire it up, it'll say like what season you're playing it. It detects the date, which I just thought that was an awesome little touch there. And new battle strategies and moves. So yeah, you can see here, like they can go up to 3v3, which is also a cool little enhanced gameplay mechanic. On the inside, nothing quite like a complete in-box copy of a Pokemon game because the manual section's always jam-packed with stuff to go through. Of course, we're going to go through this manual here, but we also have this here. We have the Club Pokemon thing to go through, and then, of course, the general DS slip. So let's start off at the bottom here. We have the Club Pokemon, or Club Nintendo, sorry, I said Pokemon earlier. I noticed here they called it version Noir. Kind of like that a little bit more than Pokemon Black. I don't know. Noir sounds kind of mysterious and cool, but yeah, you would just register this on your Club Nintendo account. Then you have here how to get the mythical Pokemon Victini. And so it gives you a 5-step process here on getting the Liberty Pass, starting the game up, who to talk to at the Pokemon Center, going to the Liberty Garden, and then catching Victini. So it's a whole process. It's a whole process. But a lot of this game, as you'll see when we go through the manual, was really built around engaging in online play. Another way it was pushing forward that admittedly I didn't get to experience much of because I was playing here in 2023, so you'll have to forgive some of my ignorance here. I do love the illustrations in this manual because you only get to see these characters very rarely looking like this. They're just little sprites otherwise that, you know, you can't really identify beyond the details on screen within the pixels. But some of the art here, like for these characters here, from Professor Juniper to your friends and like even N, just awesome looking. So I love how they do this. Pokemon was out of pocket with this first gym here. I gotta say, like, Game Freak really pressed me with this one. Having the trio badge, so it could be whoever your weakness is. So I had to fight a grass type for this gym. You just had to go around the corner to the Dream Yard, and then you would get a Pokemon. Like I got Pansage, so it was a good way to target the trio badge and get that. So I don't know why they did it that way in the first place if the answer was right there, but still a cool option nonetheless. But yeah, you can see here all of the badges that you get throughout your journey, so you can kind of plan what starter you want to pick. Obviously some easier than others. They break down the basic options from the Pokédex to saving your game, how battles work, stuff that you've seen in Pokemon before. But what you'll notice as we get deeper beyond the basics here, they break down some of the key buildings. You'll see hidden mechanics like the musical theater is one. You're going to see how to use the Poke Transfer. Like this is where they really get into online stuff here. The infrared connection for communications. The Sea Gear was a big part of this game. They talk a bit about trading and battling. They actually have passerby analytics, the survey radar. They even had a voice chat at one point I saw here, which was kind of crazy. The entry, they have the bridges, and you can connect to the someone on the other side of the island, the X transceiver. Like it's ridiculous, man, how much online connectivity this got. And then the wireless club union room. They just really packed this thing full. I'm curious though, when we get to it, did anyone actually use the voice chat for Pokemon Black? Let me know in the comments, like right here, voice chat. You can use the microphone to enjoy voice chat with friends. It's like modern Nintendo systems don't have voice chat. So did anyone use this? I'm curious if you've met anyone or talked to anyone or have a friend who used the voice chat for a Pokemon game. Because I wonder if those lobbies were built like the MW2 lobbies, you know what I mean? So that stuff could get pretty rowdy. But you see here, like battle videos, musical photos, global link, battle subway, just so many little mechanics and systems and things happening underneath the hood. Dream World, Global Battle Union, just crazy. What a jam-packed game. So yeah, then you get to the back here and you talk about the staff list a little bit. Nothing else happening here on the back. And so that's what you're left with here in a complete in-box copy of Pokemon Black, or version Noir. So this is where I kind of struggled a little bit. I think I've become a bit spoiled with the newer Pokemon and its balance and its design. For example, like Scarlet and Violet, you can get great Pokemon like that by doing the online trade system. Like you could send out some junk Pokemon from your PC and get something amazing in turn. I hope they kind of like neuter that feature down the line in new entries, because I liked how in this game, like the wild encounters felt purposeful and meaningful. But at the same time, where I felt I was spoiled is in things like XP share. that's been the toughest thing for me going back to some of these older Pokemon games, is like firing them up and there is no collective XP share. So you can get it in Pokemon Black. It's at the top of the Battle Company Tower. You have to fight a janitor for it, which I just got a good kick out of there. But yeah, once you beat everyone on all these separate floors, at the end, you fight him, you get the XP share, and you can share it with one single Pokemon and split the XP per battle with that, which I thought was okay at the end of the day. You definitely have to farm in this, which I can't act like I loved or that I missed it. I definitely, at times, wanted to get on with the story. It's almost like the main story was a double-edged sword. Like, I really loved what it was doing, and I wanted to get more of that, and I couldn't get more of that because I had to go level up my Pokemon and make sure like everyone was ready to fight. And so it started to lead into this topsy-turvy party where eventually, like, man, you know, my main Pokemon from the start, like Oshawott, is like now level 26, and he's evolved into Duwad, and like he is really powerful, so I need to go farm and get everything else balanced out. And the wild Pokemon encounters, as they always do, don't pay out much XP, so you gotta hunt for trainer battles. I kind of like this process though, because the Battle Company is something totally optional. You can totally miss it. Like, they never call your attention to it at all. So I found the exploration in this game fulfilling, like in Castelia City, which we'll just talk about the art direction of this game in a moment. I loved how, like, and this is in a lot of Pokemon games, but I loved how I found this random building and inside it was like, hi, I'm the game director. Hi, I'm the art director. I was just cracking up at the idea Game Freak actually put themselves in the game. I forgot that this was a thing in Pokemon. So it was really cool to rediscover that, and that there's actually like a secret tied to, if you collect all the Pokemon, like, go visit the game director. He'll give you a little reward. It's those types of secrets that you tuck in the back of your mind. You're like, I'm going to come back to this later. That's what makes Pokemon games so special. But I was talking a little bit about the world itself. So a lot of people always recommended Pokemon Black for me, because for those who don't know, born and raised New Yorker. So everyone was saying, what, you're a New Yorker and you haven't played Pokemon Black? You haven't played Pokemon White? And I was like, no, like, what's the big deal? But I mean, the way this game, and this is going to sound a little fraudulent for a moment here, but the way this game like pushes technology for the time period it came out, I find it really impressive that this is an original DS game. Like, there's a moment you get to Sky Arrow Bridge as you're leading into Castelia City, and you see like this big epic landscape. I mean, they pull out the camera to the point where it's pretty hilarious. Like, you're just this one single pixel just shifting colors to simulate like you're still running. You'll see boats going underneath the bridge. You'll see cars going on the roundabout, and they're like the same assets and stuff, but you appreciate the scale, the scope, the spectacle, and especially back then, like, this was crazy. And even Castelia City, like, clearly inspired by New York City with these different streets and alleyways, and like you'll find like there's a cafe tucked in one alleyway, and there's like a gang laughing and smirking in another alleyway. You can collect dancers. Like, I just was so happy when I got here. It felt like a real centerpiece of the game. Like, everything had been built around this big spectacle, and it felt rewarding to get that so early. So yeah, I just felt on an artistic level, graphical level, like this was also really impressive and surprised me in some meaningful ways. I know 3DS went on to really push the boundaries in new fun ways too, but to see that type of stuff on an original DS game, like, Game Freak was doing some special stuff back then. And I just, of course, naturally have to get into the pixel art from there. The animation on them, if you will, like the amount of sheets they used to like simulate movement and attacks, like, it was this great hybrid of being active enough on screen to convey the idea of an attack being done without what a lot of complaints really, I'd say, piled up the most at with Sword and Shield, which is like this, you know, you're jumping at the screen like this. Oh, that's a tackle, right? Got it. Like, it conveyed the visuals enough to sell the moves, and I just thought that, again, that was impressive on a visual level. But yeah, from visuals to music, like, great experience there. And then combat, it's Pokemon, right? Like, you know what to expect. And then, of course, the story really swept me off my feet, where Pokemon Black, man, like, this was a really good time. Like, I definitely tried it on a whim just because so many people have been asking me to go play older Pokemon games after enjoying Heartgold. And so, yeah, here we are with Pokemon Black, a game that, again, really caught me off guard. So I'm happy to share my thoughts on it. So I'm looking forward to hearing yours. What is your connection to Pokemon Black? Are you like me? Have you been late to the party? If so, I recommend you get on in there. And yes, of course, I'll be playing Pokemon Black and White too, because I know you're going to want to see all of my thoughts on that now. So we we'll discuss. With that, ladies and gentlemen, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.